Well, the race is on between the Russians and the United States to recover the downed drone in the Black Sea. This one is getting crazy. The Russians want the drone that they crashed into, the US wants their drone back, and the US may have exposed a little secret that they have. So please stick with me. We're going to go over what the Russians are doing in the Black Sea currently, what the US is trying to do, and that little secret they exposed. So let's start with Russia. They were very vocal about the fact that they never crashed into that drone. The US is lying. Show the drone footage. Well, they've been caught lying. So what exactly are they doing now? Surprise, surprise, they've sent warships in the area where they think the drone debris may be. So they are looking for this drone, and they've said publicly they want to recover this drone. Now, when I was doing research for this story, I wanted to know what exactly did the Russians say? Like, okay, you caught us. It wasn't really that. In fact, we don't know exactly what the Russians said because according to General Milley, who's the top dog of the US military, he's saying they have this line between the United States and Moscow where they can have direct contact immediately. And there was communication with Russia, but they didn't say what they talked about. And this is why Russia is really hard to read, because in previous statements, like a couple days ago, Russia had said, look, we never closed the door with the United States. We are always open to talks. And to be fair, they have been open to talks about this. It's just that we don't know exactly what the conversation is. We don't know if the US was super hard on them. We do know, though, that there were talks between the Russians and the United States. Something else to mention, it's not quite clear why the Russian Navy is trying to recover the drone. And what I mean by that is, it's not like they're going to recover and be like, sorry, here's your drone. They are not going to do that. If anything, they're most likely trying to recover that drone for their own intelligence. But that secret I was talking about, General Milley made a comment saying the United States already took action in preventing sensitive information and getting captured. Let me translate that for you. Everyone is analyzing that statement as there must be a self-destruct system or some sort of system where if you recover that drone, you can get nothing out of it. The tone of General Milley, I think, is really interesting, just to not care if Russia gets the drone. Obviously, the US doesn't want them to get the drone, but they've said time and time again, it will not matter, we put in these preventative measures. So, from the US perspective, what exactly is going on? Are we going to get that drone? Are we not going to get that drone? Here's what's happening. Like I had mentioned before, the United States has talked to Russia and their key leaders. And I think that's actually really productive. I think that's the best part of the story. There is still open lines of communication. Russia did say that they were going to stay open. The US took that offer and they're talking. Now, we're also sort of left in the dust with these details. The United States does want to get their drone. They have verified that. But General Milley straight up stated it's going to be a very hard mission to get that drone. The first issue, the United States has to first find out what the perimeter is on the debris field. They got to figure out where the spread is of that drone falling apart or self-exploding, which is why I think the US gave away that secret. But that's the first issue. They got to figure out where the debris field is. Issue number 2, the US hardly has a footprint as a navy in the Black Sea. In fact, General Milley even said, well, look, we do have allies, but there wasn't the implication that we were going to summon our allies to go do our dirty work. And the issue is the Russians do have the strongest footprint in the Black Sea. Now, I think another issue that General Milley didn't say is the fact that the Russians are already out there. So what's going to happen? Are we going to have bumper ships between the Russians and the United States looking for these drone parts? Now, we are all thinking it. We are all asking it. Even General Milley has been asked a million times. Did the Russians do this on purpose? And get ready for all your propaganda alarms, but the United States actually said this is probably unintentional. The exact wording from the State Department on what they thought of these pilots crashing into their drone, profound incompetence most likely is the issue of these pilots. Pretty much the Russians were trolling. They got caught trolling. I mean, who the hell is spraying jet fuel over the Black Sea on top of a drone that you're enemies with? That's trolling. So back on a serious note, when you really think about it, this is actually technically the first direct action between the United States and the Russians during the whole Russia-Ukraine war. And I think that goes to show that Russia knows exactly what's going on. They're well aware that their tanks are getting hit by javelins from the United States used by the Ukrainians. So the Russians doing actions such as messing with drones, I don't think they care either way. What really bothered me about this news story is that a lot of nothing turned into something. A lot of people tend to forget all of a sudden that the Russians intercept US jets all the time and vice versa. How many times have we seen the news article, US jets intercept Russian jets near Alaska? We see it like 5 times a year. And look, I'm not sticking up for the Russians, but there almost seems to be like this implied respect between the United States and real Russian pilots when there are real people in the air. I think the Russians were just trolling this drone in the United States and they got a little too close and this happened. Again, I'm not sticking up for the Russians, but notice how there really hasn't ever been any real air-to-air collisions between real pilots. I'm really leaning on the side of this was an accident, and I actually saw this as a way for the US and the Russians to have a direct line of communication and sort of prove to the world that there is still sort of a relationship there. So, in saying that, without a doubt, this is Russia's fault. Whether or not it's an accident, the footage came out, everything the US said, spraying the jet fuel on the drone, which sounded crazy, they actually did it, and they actually got caught. And for Russia, none of this matters at the end of the day because they control their state television. You cannot talk crap about the Russian military. You cannot be critical or discredit the Russian military. It is illegal in their country. And I actually think that's one of Russia's top weapons, their ability to do whatever they want from no criticism from back home. You see, in the United States, we're really critical about everything, especially the Iraq and Afghanistan war. And in turn, that will make our president be like, okay, our people don't want this, we don't want this. In Russia, that's not the answer. So yeah, that's the video. I'm really curious what you guys all have to say, and I'm really curious what exactly is going to happen. Are we ever going to get this drone, or did the US really just blow this thing up in midair while it was falling to the sky? Let me know what you guys think.